This could actually be really good for low-income and fixed-income beneficiaries. What one representative wants to do with the federal poverty line. Let's get into it and talk about all the details. But quickly before we do, thanks so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video, as I am your one and only daily advocate. I'm back for you each and every day in videos just like this, bringing you all the latest updates and helping you out with very important information that you need to know during this time, as things are changing very rapidly, and we want to make sure that you're getting all of the money and benefits that you're eligible to receive as a result of these stimulus packages and all of these other bills and proposals out there right now that at any point could pass through Congress. So make sure to subscribe down below, and I promise I'll be here for you every single day. All right, thank you so much. Let's jump into this and talk about what one representative wants to do with the federal poverty line. Now, what I'm going to talk about in this video was actually introduced a while ago. However, this has come up so many different times in headlines as I'm doing my research. I continue to come across this. In fact, I've seen it a number of times over the last few days here. Well, the first few times that I came across it, I thought, you know what, it's interesting, but I'm not going to talk about it. But based on the frequency in which that I've seen this pop up over the last few days, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to eventually talk about this because it's actually somewhat important. In the event that this does actually happen, this would be a huge win for low-income and fixed-income beneficiaries who are living at or below the poverty line or anywhere thereabouts. For the reasons I'm going to lay out in this video, you're going to see very quickly how if this one representative does get what she wants, by the way, she does have support from other of her colleagues in Congress, if they get what they want on this, wow, this would be absolutely life-changing in a matter of different ways. So let's talk through this. Now, this is actually from Representative AOC. We've talked about her a number of times, but she is a representative in the House of Representatives, and she would be considered one of the progressives. Now, we've talked about her a number of times. You're probably very familiar with who she is. But this introduction that she is talking about here is the Recognizing Poverty Act. That's what it's called, and she introduced it. Recognizing Poverty Act. Now, what they want to do with this is actually dramatically expand the federal poverty line. So as we know, right here in 2021, the federal poverty line is sitting at about $12,880. Now, again, I do recognize it does change a little bit based on locality, things like this, states, things like this. But in general, the federal poverty line pretty much across the board is about $12,880 as of right now, and as of my most recent internet searches. So that's where we're sitting right now. However, according to this representative, she wants to jack up the federal poverty line all the way up to, what do you think? 18,000, 20,000, 25,000, 30, 35? Yeah, no, $38,000 would be the new line in the sand that they would identify as the federal poverty line. Could you imagine what that would do? That would be absolutely huge to raise the federal poverty line up that high. Now, just remember this, the federal poverty line is a line that is drawn. It's kind of like this invisible line that's drawn, right? It raises up a little bit each and every year, but it's kind of one of these lines that's drawn out there to help determine what somebody may be eligible for as far as different benefits. Maybe like school lunches, maybe Medicare services, Medicaid services, the SNAP program, SSI benefits, all of these different things, right? So a lot of this plays, like a lot of these factors play into if somebody's actually eligible based on a lot of these programs, and like housing vouchers, also that's in there, utility assistance, rental assistance. There's so many different things that are pegged off of the federal poverty line. If somebody's below it, well, you're going to get way more benefits and way more federal assistance than somebody who may be above the federal poverty line. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of you in this community probably recognize this. That's just kind of how it is, right? So it's this line that continues to move on an annual basis. It does continue to, move up a little bit, adjust a little bit higher. But if they actually raise the federal poverty line to $38,000, could you imagine? Especially as we continue talking right now, how in this SSI Restoration Act, they want to raise SSI benefits up to the federal poverty line. Well, check it out. Right now, the federal poverty line is $12,880. What if the federal poverty line was at $38,000? If they wanted to raise SSI benefits to 100% of the federal poverty line and it was $38,000, I didn't run the math on that, but that would be a really nice monthly payment, right? I mean, that'd be what, $3,000 a month? A little bit more than $3,000 a month on SSI if they did that. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of a quick example. By the way, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, if this representative did get what she wants with this Recognizing Poverty Act, it could be a huge game changer for many, many people living at or below the poverty line. By the way, one more thing I want to hear from you also. Leave your comments down below. I'm curious on your opinion about this whole thing. But do you think $12,880 is a fair number for them to kind of draw in the sand and be like, okay, this is the federal poverty line? I mean, to me, based on everything that we're seeing right now and everything going on, to me, it would sound like that is a really low number. I'm just being honest with you. In my opinion, I would say $12,880 as an annual income for somebody is like unbelievably low. That's a little over $1,000 a month to live on. Now, I know a lot of people in this community are living on less than $1,000 a month. I get it. But guess what? I also see it down in the comments section. There are a lot of people who are really struggling during this time, living on under $1,000 a month. It's not a good thing to do, right? I mean, it's not a good way to live. And many of us for a long time now have been calling on Congress to issue additional stimulus checks, raises to benefits, permanently raising benefits, raise it up to 100% of the federal poverty line for all of these tens of millions of beneficiaries. We've been calling on Congress to do so many different things. So we recognize, we totally get it. Living on $1,000 or less than that per month is not a fun way to go, right? It's not an easy road to go down, especially right now, as we're continuing to see inflation across the board, pinching our bank accounts, all of our things like this. Every time we go out to the store, we are certainly feeling it right now. Yeah, so you know what I mean? It's kind of a difficult situation, but either way, to me, it would seem like the federal poverty line should be way higher than that, just especially in a country where we continue to say this is the most affluent and richest country in the world. I mean, if that's the case, then why are so many people living on such a teeny tiny monthly fixed income or just low income in general, right? So if we raise the federal poverty line, it would certainly help out a ton of people right now. Most likely the minimum wage would also be lifted to reflect that. These benefits would be lifted to reflect the federal poverty line. Across the board, it would help out a lot of people, right? The lowest of the income people out there, it would really help out. So anyway, I wanted to bring this to you, but really quickly, before we sign off on this, I'm gonna bring my wife in, Corey, and she's gonna read some details about this this bill from AOC. So, Recognizing Poverty Act. She's gonna read about this. It's a pretty short piece of text right here she's gonna read for you, but I wanted to just end off with this so that you can actually hear exactly what this is all about. So, with that being said, I'm gonna have Corey take it away, and then that'll be the end of the video. I won't come back, don't worry, you won't have to see me again until the next video anyway, but I'll have Corey take it away, and then you can see what this whole act is. The Recognizing Poverty Act. All right, thanks again. Take it away, Corey, and I'll catch you again later in the next video.
The Recognizing Poverty Act. Would the increase encompass millions in the middle class who don't want to be classified as impoverished? The poverty line is an income amount under which a person or household qualifies for taxpayer-funded benefit programs such as food stamps, free school lunches, or public housing. The measure is determined annually by the Department of Health and Human Services. In 2019, the federal poverty levels were $12,490 for an individual, $16,910 for a two-person household, $21,330 for a three-person household, and $25,750 for a four-person household. This is so low that it's routine for multiples of the poverty line to be used in calculations for programs. For example, Obamacare health insurance tax credits were available for people earning up to quadruple the poverty line. The Recognizing Poverty Act would require the Department of Health and Human Services develop a new formula when calculating the poverty line. They would now have to factor in different costs of living across states and cities, cost of health insurance, work expenses, childcare, and internet access. While the bill doesn't set exact numbers for new poverty lines, its lead sponsor estimated that it may be $38,000 for an individual, which is nearly triple the current level. For context, that would make the new individual poverty lines higher than the current six-person household poverty line. Supporters argue the legislation would better reflect the cost of living in the modern day, encompassing more who arguably should be considered impoverished, yet currently lie just outside the government's definition. Productivity has risen and more family members have entered the workforce. The purchasing power of the average household has remained the same. Despite the evolving nature of our expenses, the way we calculate the federal poverty line has not been adjusted, causing millions of Americans experiencing poverty to fall through the ever-growing holes in our social safety programs. Opponents counter the legislation with drastically and unnecessarily skyrocketing taxpayer spending, including many who are financially secure without such assistance, who would take offense to the idea that they need such government benefits. The socialist Congresswoman has said she thinks the poverty line would be as high as $38,000 in annual salary. This would triple poverty overnight, classifying many working-class self-sufficient Americans as if they were in dire need of government intervention. Besides, the poverty line doesn't even indicate whether or not someone is actually living in poverty because it doesn't count government benefits. The bill has attracted several Democrats, and it awaits potential vote in the House Education and Labor Committee.